Hello everyone, how you doing? It's me, Will, or TubeMix, either will do, and welcome. Now, usually when I do a tribute video, it's usually a pre-record, but this one is important to me particularly because one of my passions is Disney. And I was very saddened to hear about the death of Richard M. Sherman, of the Sherman brothers, at the age of 95 a couple of days ago. I think the Sherman brothers are probably some of the best composers that have ever wrote for the Walt Disney Company in terms of the music department. Now, even if you don't know who the Sherman brothers are, you will know some of their songs. I guarantee you will. The soundtrack to Mary Poppins, I'm talking about the original 1964 film. Quite a few songs in the Jungle Book. In fact, apart from The Bare Necessities, which was written by Terry Gilkinson, they wrote all the score to that. The original movie The Parent Trap, Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, so many others. And also, they didn't just work for Disney. If you have seen the Hanna-Barbera 1970, I think it's 73 version of Charlotte's Web, Debbie Reynolds voices Charlotte the spider, and they wrote all the music to that as well. So truly and absolutely wonderful. Truly, absolutely legends, and they wrote so much wonderful music. It was very much keeping it with the family. Their father, Al Sherman, was a composer himself. In the 1920s and 30s, he wrote lots of big songs, like I think Boiled Beef and Carrots, which was a famous one. You've Got to Be a Football Hero. I think I'm not so familiar with Al's work because usually I'm not really a fan of the 20s and 30s music. But of course, the brothers, so Dick and Bob Sherman, massive fan. I think their music is just timeless and really memorable. They could write simple songs, but they could also write songs which used a lot of words. They would often create a lot of words. It became a bit of a famous thing for the Sherman brothers. Think supercalifragilisticexpialidocious from Mary Poppins, the whoop-de-doo-pa-bounce from the Tigger movie, Fortuosity, if you've ever seen The Happiest Millionaire. That's film musical from 1967, and Tommy Steele stars in it, and he's still with us, and he's absolutely fantastic, and so is that song. My favourite Sherman Brothers song, well, there's so many. I do love the title song to the Aristocats, performed by Maurice Chevalier. I just absolutely love him. I think he always sounds like he's so happy singing with a smile on his face. A great legend as well. In fact, the title song to the Aristocats proved out to be his last work because Chevalier was generally retired. He retired in 1968. One of his final work actually was, again, working with the Sherman brothers for a Disney film, a not very well-known one called Monkeys Go Home. I've never seen it. And apparently he plays, I think he plays a reverend or pastor. Pastor. No, pastor. Sorry. Oh dear, what a cock-up that was. Anyway, moving on. So yes, they wrote It's a Small World, in fact. So if ever you have been on that ride at Disneyland, and it's probably one of the most simple songs, and yet it stays absolutely stuck in your head, doesn't it? And they even played on that with Zazu, taunting Scar with it in the original film of The Lion King in 1994. The Sherman brothers worked with so many people. Maurice Chevalier, as I mentioned, Bill Ives, Julie Andrews, Haley Mills, and even they teamed up with what would seem a very unlikely combining of forces with rock and pop writer and singer Kenny Loggins. And I mentioned the Tigger movie. Well, they co-wrote with Kenny the song for the end credits, Your Heart Will Lead You Home. And in fact, the Tigger movie proved out to be the last the last Disney film that would feature songs written by Richard Sherman, along with his brother, the late Robert B. Sherman, as well. And it was their first film after returning to Disney because they were brought on as staff songwriters by Walt Disney. And they wrote a song called Tall Paul, which is a rock and roll number for Annette Funicello. If you don't know who she is, she was one of the original Mouseketeers in the 1950s version of the Mickey Mouse Club. So long before Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and Ryan Gosling and Justin Timberlake, the Mickey Mouse Club started in 1955, and Annette was one of the big stars, and then soon after she starred in quite a few Disney films. Walt liked her very much, and if you're a fan of those beach party films with Frankie Avalon, she was in those as well. And in fact, Paul Anka, the great composer, I think briefly was her boyfriend. I think they were briefly in a relationship. So yeah. Anyway, so after the success of Tall Paul, Walt thought, do you know what? I like you guys. I like your work. Would you like to be staff songwriters at the studio? And of course they said yes. And what began a massive, long partnership, because the Sherman brothers didn't just write for films, they wrote for the Disney parks. They wrote a film for, they wrote a song for the Epcot, I think. One Spark of Imagination. I think I'm just trying to go off my head. I've not heard it, but I like to read a lot about Disney and the Sherman brothers, so that's what I thought. They also wrote, if you've ever been to the Carousel of Progress, they wrote a song called There's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow. In fact, after this, I do recommend you go onto YouTube and type Walt Disney and the Sherman Brothers sing. It's a great clip. Basically, it was a sort of demonstration clip. Walt wanted to basically pitch it to the organisers at the 1964 New York State Fair. Along with It's a Small World, funnily enough, before it went to Disneyland. And Bob and Dick, were playing the piano. Dick is playing the piano, and Dick is playing the piano and singing along, and Bob and Walt, and it's just absolutely wonderful. They even do the skip dance like Morecambe and Wise famously did as well. So yeah, it's just a great clip. I do recommend you go and check that. In fact, one of Walt Disney's favourite songs was one that the Sherman brothers wrote for Mary Poppins, the very beautiful Feed the Birds. And as Richard Sherman explained in interviews, well, Feed the Birds is not literally about feeding the birds. Basically, the song is about, it doesn't take much to give love. and kindness. And Walt really likes that, to the point where every weekend after what was often, a very busy week, sometimes a very stressful week, because, trying to, production of a film can be, pretty hectic, and there could be a lot of tensions in the way. So I think just to relax themselves, he would call the Sherman brothers into his office. All he would have to say is play it, and they knew immediately what he wanted, and they kept doing that. They kept playing Feed the Birds every Friday afternoon, and then Walt would say, that's what it's all about. Have a good weekend, fellas. And that's how it was. Even, that was the last words that he said to them, like always, before Walt's untimely passing. Robert Sherman died in 2012, so he's been gone for quite a while now. In fact, I remember being in the car and saddened about hearing about his passing as well. Despite Robert's passing, though, Richard Sherman continued to work, in fact, until very recently. You may remember that I reviewed the Disney short Once Upon a Studio for the studio's 100th anniversary. Well, Richard Sherman, they got him to go into Walt Disney's office and record him doing Feed the Birds, like he always does, like he always did. And that was a really lovely moment, because they didn't have to do that, They could have just easily got, I don't know, maybe Hans Zimmer to conduct an orchestra. But no, they specifically wanted Richard Sherman. And I thought he was actually going to have a cameo in the short, because I thought it was going to be the characters all listening to him at the piano. But yeah, that didn't happen, really. But that would have been lovely, wouldn't it? Excuse me. Sadly, well, I'm not sure if you've seen the video, though. During that, Richard Sherman was very croaky in his voice, and sadly lost the ability to sing, because Robert didn't like performing. He was kind of a very shy person, but Richard Sherman, he loved to perform. And there's actually a great performance, although it's kind of a little insane compared to Edwin's in the film. But it's quite funny to hear Richard Sherman sing I Love to Laugh from Mary Poppins. They did it for a Disneyland Records album, because that's what it used to be known as, the label, which is now Walt Disney Records. And it's Richard Sherman, Bill Lee's on there from the Mellow Men, and who actually dubbed Christopher Lee. No, not him. Christopher Plummer in The Sound of Music, when he sings Edelweiss. So yeah, Bill Lee's on there. Del McKinnon, who regularly did voices for Disney. I think Phil Ravenscroft might be on there as well. A lot of people. Anyway, it's such joy. Again, I do recommend you check that as well. And one of my favourite things was I went to see the film Christopher Robin with Ewan McGregor when it came out, and Richard Sherman made a cameo as himself, playing the piano and singing at the end, which was absolutely lovely. Admittedly, he wasn't the bestest of singers, but what he could really get, I guess, if he enjoyed it, and the sort of joy, and he whenever he performed, he seemed to capture the spirit of his own songs, even if he wasn't the of singers. Now, I didn't know that The Ugly Bug Ball until a couple of years ago was a Disney song. I just thought it was a nursery rhyme. But no, it was written for the 1963 Disney film called Summer Magic, and it stars Haley Mills and Bill Ives. I've never seen that much of it apart from the Ugly Bug Ball sequence because I quite liked that song. Well, that song nearly didn't make the picture because Walt, the Sherman brothers played it to Walt, but Walt wasn't keen on it. But Richard Sherman says, Walt didn't like the word ugly, and he thought that was very negative. But Richard Sherman says, but Walt, the whole point of this song is to say there's beauty in even the ugliest things. And Walt certainly likes that idea, and the song stuck. And to be honest, I think if you say the name Bill Ives now, I think a lot of people will think of The Ugly Bug Ball. So, yeah, it just goes to show, doesn't it, that, if that song hadn't have got in, then, things could have been quite different from Bill Ives. Although he had an established career, by the 60s, that point, of course, the music scene had changed. And even, him being a folk singer, but people who were sort of more modern, because Bill Ives was a crooner, but you had people like, obviously, Bob Dylan coming through, who was sort of more edgy folk music, should we say. Ugly Bug Ball, I think, gave Bill Ives, one of his biggest success. So I'm just trying to think of some other Sherman Brothers songs that I really do love. I do love 10 Feet Off the Ground from, get ready, the one, the only, genuine, original family band. That's such a long title. But Louis Armstrong recorded it for an album. In fact, I reviewed on the channel Disney Songs the Satchmo Way. And I just love it. I think it's a song about really the joys of music. So obviously it's something that Bob and Dick, when they wrote it, could relate to. I like 10 Feet Off the Ground. I like About Time, again, from the same album and from the same film. What other Sherman Brothers songs do I like? The Age of Not Believing is beautiful, from Bedknobs and Broomsticks, sung by Angela Lansbury. That's basically the version of Feed the Birds, sort of. Basically one of the kids doesn't believe in all this stuff, this magic, and Angela Lansbury's character, I think she's called Miss Price, I'm pretty sure. She sings that lovely song, and it's absolutely wonderful. Bedknobs and Broomsticks, admittedly, I do think it's a poor person's Mary Poppins, which is quite brutal. But again, there are some really, really great songs. I mean, The Beautiful Bridie, that's a great sequence and a wonderful song. They have had the absolute amazing career. There's also a great clip when, as I said, Richard Sherman sings Feed the Birds in Walt Disney's office. And he also sang a song, I think it was called The Windsy Woods, for a review, basically. about songs about. It was about the 60s. I don't really know that much about it, and I've only heard the song until the video. And yeah, the guy said to him, "Well, what were you doing in the 60s?" And Richard Sherman says, "Well, I was working with my brother Bob, and working at the Disney studio." Okay, well, write about that, and he did, and it's just such. Because they used to call it the Whimsy Woods, because, you know, sort of doing stories of make-believe characters, which I think is probably the most appropriate. Yeah, it again, I do recommend you check that. I think the Sherman Brothers, I can't think of a Sherman Brothers song I don't like. You know, there's usually composers, usually a song that I'm not so keen on. I'm just trying to think. Although I'm not sure much of the Tigger movies songs are classics. I'm not sure they're the most strongest compared to the classic songs that they wrote. You've got the very over-the-top Round My Family Tree. So in case you don't know, it's basically Tigger basically going off to find what he thinks is his family. So we have this big sequence where it's become quite a tradition, although I don't think they do it much now, obviously, because it's all CGI now and it wouldn't really work. But think in Dumbo, you know, it's become known as a Disney acid sequence. Yeah, basically, if you were under the illusion of drugs, basically, with lots of colours flashing. Anyway, so obviously Pink Elephant's on Parade and Dumbo, Heffalumps and Woozles from Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day, which later became part of the many adventures of Winnie the Pooh. There's I Want to Scare Myself from... Well, it was from a TV special, although it wasn't written from the Sherman Brothers, but Boo to Winnie the Pooh, and that became Pooh's Heffalump Halloween movie. Anyway, and Round My Family Tree is probably the most over-the-top Sherman Brothers song. I mean, even Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, I'm not sure I would say it's completely over the top, although actually in the musical they go off spelling it, and that just makes me groan. Yeah, well, but I suppose for the musical they have to kind of jazz it up. Anyway, so yeah, Round My Family Tree is, yeah, probably the most really, really over-the-top Sherman Brothers song. The rest of the soundtrack for the Tigger movie, well, there's the sweet ballad, Lullaby, basically Winnie the Pooh trying to, get the bees to sleep so he can steal some of their honey. There's Someone Like Me, where Tigger is sort of a bit sad, and there must be someone like me out there. It's quite dark actually for a Winnie the Pooh film. And I mentioned the Whoop-de-Dooper Bounce, which he sings with Rube, because of this move that he's hoping that his family will teach him. And I just trying to think. I mean, it's been years since I watched the Tigger movie. What else? Oh yeah, How to Be a Tigger. So yeah, obviously to try and trick Tigger, to pull his leg in, to really test him to see how well he'll realise. Pooh, Piglet, Eeyore, Kangaroo, Rue. Oh no, definitely not. Does Rabbit? No. Yeah, there's no way Rabbit would do it anyway. So they decide to throw a party and pretend, trying to cheer Tigger up, being his family, and then it all goes wrong. But there's this How to Be a Tigger, which is quite good. But I wouldn't say the Tigger movie is not quite the send off as it proved to be, for the Sherman brothers. But as I said, they didn't just work for Disney. In fact, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I mean, what an iconic film that is. Dick Van Dyke, Sally Ann Howes, Benny Hill. I can't remember the guy who plays the child catcher. Robert Helpman, that's it. Yeah. Who I think. I don't think there's a person who's not been afraid by the child catcher. I think probably one of the most. I think he was voted one of the most creepiest villains ever. So yeah. Anyway, that was their first after leaving Disney, because they were disillusioned with the studio since Walt's passing. And to be fair, they were in a very difficult moment. Walt Disney was the figure that you would definitely motivate you, because you would not want to disappoint him. In Bambi, there's a lot that said, Man of the Woods. And that used to be what, if the animators were sort of having a brief jam session, because some of them were in a band called the Firehouse 5 plus 2. The Firehouse 5 2. Actually, that makes sense. Yeah, the Firehouse 5 plus 2. Oh man, my brain is failing me. But anyway, they were in a jazz band, a sort of ragtime band. Also Man of the Woods. And every time Walt was coming down the corridor, and you would not want to disappoint him. So when Walt passed away, it was very difficult for the studio, and there was no Walt-like figure, really. And the parks, of course, did well, but the animation side struggled. And hi to you, David. Good to see you here. It was a very tough time, but of course they picked up. Anyway, sorry, I'm digressing. I'm really passionate about Disney, and sorry, back to the Sherman Brothers. So, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. What a great soundtrack. Obviously, the title song, very wordy. Very hard to sing, because there's a lot of words in there. You've got the beautiful Hushabye Mountain. You've got Me Old Bamboo, which is sort of a musical type of number. I just think that's... Do you know, it's funny, a few months ago I was watching quite a few clips from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and listening to the soundtrack, and actually listening to Richard Sherman's demos as well. And even, I think, saw a clip of him and his brother Bob with, I think it was on the Donald O'Connor show. Yeah, it was on the Donald O'Connor show. Excuse me. So many good songs. Someone posted on Twitter, Lionel Jeffries doing the Posh number as well, which is absolutely wonderful. It's just an absolutely great film musical, isn't it? Toot Sweets, which I never knew whether it was Too Sweets or Toot Sweets. So, yeah, no, I finally found that it was Toot Sweets. So, yeah, that answered that question. And, yeah, it was an absolutely iconic, excuse me, iconic film. Now, I said about Charlotte's Web, well, there's a song called Chin Up, and basically it means, chin up, cheer up, and, keep going. But I know that song, and I first came to know that song. Sarah Cox used to sit in for Chris Evans on the Radio 2 breakfast show. And one of the songs she used to often play was that song. And it was Sir Bruce Forsyth singing it. He recorded it. I think actually, same year, 73, I'm pretty sure. I imagine it would have been to promote it. To promote the film. So anyway, yeah. Now, of course, Sir Bruce Forsyth was known for his chin. So literally, he changed it to, about cheering up to somehow managing to include some dialogue about his chin. I'm just trying to think, what did he say? Which is really funny. It made me laugh. Another much missed. In fact, he was in Ben Knobs and Broomsticks as well. So yeah, what did he say? Chin's up, chin's dear. I'm just trying to think what he said. It'll come back to me. Yeah. Chin's up, chin's dear. Yeah, I know, love. Double trouble. Oh, I wasn't being sarcastic, Look at the chin I've got. They don't call me president of the Pelican Club for nothing, So, there you go. I remembered the majority of it. Do you know, I might listen to it after this because, it's absolutely fantastic. So as I said, Richard Sherman kept working until recently. In fact, I read, in the articles about his passing that he'd worked on a recent short film, not Once Upon a Studio. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's something sounded Japanese. Somehow I managed to miss that short film as well. I usually read a lot about Disney, and that one seemed to pass me by. But anyway, it's so great that even in his old age that he managed to keep on working pretty much till the end. I think that's pretty amazing. And 95, if I get to live to that age, I mean, that will be that'll be a bonus, really. It'll be certainly a good innings, as they say. So if I was going to recommend Sherman Brothers songs to you, well, let's see. So I do love the title song to the Aristocats. Now, the Aristocats is actually interesting because it's only one song by the Sherman Brothers, and the rest are other composers. So everybody wants to Who Wants to Be a Cat sounds like the new game show that instead of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, doesn't it? Everybody Wants to Be a Cat. Written by Floyd Huddleston and Al Rinker. Then there was Scales and Arpeggios. Oh yeah, sorry, that was the Sherman Brothers. So yeah, two songs on the soundtrack. So Scales and Arpeggios and the title song. And then we had Thomas O'Malley Cat. And then we had there's that song. I always forget it exists because on the Disney CD, in fact, in the car. But yeah, we used to wait out. My mum, I think honestly she was so fed up of it by the end. But there's a song, so in between Everybody Wants to Be a Cat, there's that brief, sort of very, very brief ballad that Duchess and Thomas O'Malley sing. And I always forget it exists. I don't even know if it's got a title, actually. Or whether it's just part of Everybody Wants to Be a Cat. To be honest, I never think it's needed, really. It's just pretty dull. But yeah. So anyway, songs to recommend to you. Well, obviously the Mary Poppins soundtrack, I think every song... I don't usually like musicals, but the original 1964 film of Mary Poppins, I just love everything on the soundtrack. I love Ed Wynn doing I Love to Laugh. I love David Tomlinson with his, sort of with his passion, doing The Life I Lead. Dame Julie Andrews, of course, is absolutely fabulous as Mary Poppins. Dick Van Dyke as Bert. One of the hardest and actually wordiest songs, I'm just thinking now, because, it's coming to my head, is, I can never pronounce it, but it's the song in the bank where Michael, they're sort of explaining to Michael what his tuppence could be used for other than feeding the birds. They're basically saying there's so much more. And it's just... It almost goes into Gilbert and Sullivan sort of opera style. And in fact, that's the great thing about the Sherman Brothers. They could write pretty much any genre. I'm just thinking of another great song. It's so simple, but sometimes that's what works. So the brothers wrote a song for an episode of I'm just going to call it the Disney Anthology series because they've got so many bloody titles to begin with. So when the series was called Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Colour, they wrote a song for the character Professor Ludwig von Drake because the idea, the professor, was to explain the concept of all the colours and... to explain colour TV. And there's this lovely song, the Spectrum song, red, yellow, green, green, blue, 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 orange and green, red, red. It's just such a wonderful song. It's simple, but, that to me, is one of the brothers' strengths. They could do simple, but they could also do advanced, they could do jazz, they could do country, they could do swing, which is part of jazz, even a touch of barbershop quartet, like, in fact, in Round My Family Tree. They also did a few direct-to-video stuff. There was all about the seasons for the Winnie the Pooh Seasons of Giving, so they did that. Oh, and actually I forgot to say, they did songs for the Winnie the Pooh TV series. Have you ever seen Welcome to Pooh Corner? I can't watch it because it just fills me with cringe. And it's actually quite creepy. I can't bear myself to watch it. And also, the voices are not great compared to, like, John Fiedler, Paul Winchell, people like that. Anyway, so, yeah. But, yeah, there's... great song listening about try something new, try something different, try something no one else has done. Fun, which is quite great. I do like that as well. So catchy. I also love, the songs that Richard did for Christopher Robin. I'm busy doing nothing. That's the life for me. But when I'm doing nothing, I'm busy doing something which quotes me to a T. I'm busy doing nothing. I know I have so little time to rest. I'm busy doing nothing, busy doing something. Doing nothing is something I do best. which, you know, summarises the sort of speech that Winnie the Pooh, you know, of A.A. Milne's books, which again, they perfectly captured as well. And the end song called Christopher Robin as well is extremely touching as well, about the love that he has for Pooh and Pooh has for him. And and also the Pooh's exercise song as well. When I up and down touch the ground, it puts me in the mood. Up, down, touch the ground, in the mood for food. I am short, fat, soprano, that appetite. I improve my appetite when I exercise. You see so many songs that you could instantly sing, you know, just brilliant. Well, I think I'm going to leave it there. I know it's been a long one, but I think the Sherman brothers have contributed so much to culture. So I thank Richard and his brother Robert. Obviously, condolences to his family. But what a life. And how he's contributed so much to culture. And especially the music side of Disney. Well, there's no doubts that, you know, they're icons. They really are. Now, of course, you know, Alan Menken and Randy Newman tend to be Disney's go-to, and obviously Robert and Christian Anderson Lopez, although actually not as much as I thought they would, you know, just Frozen and, in fact, that recent Winnie the Pooh film and Coco as well. But I thought they'd do more, but maybe they will. Anyway, we'll see. Yep, 95. What a great age. Richard M. Sherman, 1928 to 2024. What a good innings. Thank you for watching. The next video will be me talking about Boom and 73 Yards, the Doctor Who episodes. Thank you for watching. If you want to, oh, by the way, I'll be putting this on YouTube as well. So for those of you who didn't watch the live one, then you can watch that as well. I'm sorry I've been a bit behind, search and uploading recently. I really don't know what's happened this year. It's just not quite gone to plan, has it? And talking of Disney, actually, there's the exhibition video that I need to do as well. So many videos and photos here. I need to get that sorted. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you want to, feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the TubeMix YouTube channel. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.